everyone, my name is Heidi and today I'm going to be talking about capitalism and slavery. Specifically, to ask the question, was slavery the road to modern capitalism? First of all, I'd like to start by saying that the life of slaves was hard and full of injustice, as we have learned in this class. Masters used them as if they were objects. In the eyes of the master, slaves were not humans. They would buy them and sell them like a piece of furniture. It is possible to see this on my primary source, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, when he says, "Our fate for life was now to be decided. We had no more voice in that decision than the brutes among whom we were ranked. A single word from the white man was enough against all our wishes, prayers, and entreaties. To sunder forever the dearest friends, dearest kindreds, and strongest ties known to human beings." Unfortunately for slaves, this way of thinking promoted the development of capitalism in the United States. Everything began close to the 1500s, when the Europeans discovered the Americas. This new continent had a significant amount of land and a critical lack of workforce to cultivate the fields. Europeans looked then into Africa for a solution. When white captains came offering manufactured goods, weapons, and wealth for slaves, African kings and merchants had little reasons to hesitate. They viewed the people they sold not as fellow Africans, but as criminals, debtors, or prisoners of war from rival tribes. The concept of race was then evolving, and it was very marked in the 1800s. It grew different from other regions like Latin American, according to the article American Slavery in Comparative Perspective. Compared to the British and French, the Spanish and Portuguese were much more tolerant of racial mixing, an attitude encouraged by a shortage of European women, and recognized a wide range of racial gradations, including black, mestizo, quadroon, and octoroon. The American South, in contrast, adopted a two-category system of racial categorization in which any person with a black mother was automatically considered to be black. This way of thinking is still present nowadays. It is possible to see it in the news, for example, how rich and poor are always antagonists of each other. The Atlantic slave also contributed to the development of racist ideology. Slave trade had already existed in Africa, as I mentioned before, but it had no deeper reason than legal punishment or intertribal warfare. But Europeans, based in their Christian beliefs, needed to have a valid reason for enslaving a fellow Christian. So they claimed that Africans were biologically inferior and destined to be slaves, making great efforts to justify this theory. Of course, slavery in Europe and America, after all this, acquired a racial basis, making it impossible for slaves and their future descendants to attain equal status in society. According to one of my secondary sources, slave labor, there's a tendency to think of slavery as an economically backward and inefficient institution. But in fact, sugar and cotton plantations were the most innovative economic unit of their time regarding labor management and organization. They emancipated the assembly line and the factory system in their reliance on such as close supervision and division of tasks. Nowadays, we can see how companies try to have the same innovative spirit, but the difference is that they have to pay salaries for their employees. To conclude, I'd like to say that for the first half of the 19th century, and this is the way to understand how slavery contributed to the development of capitalism in the United States, slavery was at the core of the American economy. The South was an economically dynamic part of the nation for its white citizen, of course, and its products not only established the United States' position in the global economy, but also created markets for agriculture and industrial goods grown and manufactured in New England and the mid-Atlantic states. More than half of the nation's exports in the first six decades of the 19th century consisted of raw cotton, almost all of it run by slaves. Okay, everyone, this is the end of my presentation. I hope you liked it, and I hope you have a good evening. Bye-bye.